Hi, I'm Pam Hosel, and this is the Dear Rockstar interview and podcast. When I started these, my passion really was to find cool people like Tyler and talk to them about their purpose, their passion, and their why, because that was behind what they were starting. I wanted to have conversations that were about designing meaningful lives and investing in things that are soulful, instead of just the technical parts of startup. So today we're here with Tyler. Tyler, say your last name because I've been barbecuing it all morning.
Petresky.
Yes! One of the team members of Limitless. And Limitless is a nonprofit that has been using 3D printing and bionics to create prosthetics for kids, right? So Tyler, tell us a little bit about Limitless, and then we want to hear the story about how it got started.
Yeah, so like you said, we're a not-for-profit organization founded maybe about 1.5 years ago, but we specialize in creating 3D printed bionics for children who don't have arms.
3D printed bionics. Okay, walk us through what that means.
So I don't know if you've heard of 3D printing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so essentially you can create a model in the computer, send it over to the 3D printer, and it'll print it out in plastic. And then hours later you pull out a model. And so we have our arm, we assemble it, but then we run it, we operate it with a technology called EMG, or that's short for electromyography.
EMG, okay. And what does that allow?
So electromyography is just a really, really fancy word that means muscle sensing. And what that allows us to do is we can hook up electrodes onto maybe a bicep or a pectoral muscle or something, and then whenever that muscle is flexed, we can sense that electrical voltage inside of the arm. And so then we can then operate the hand through that.
Okay. So take us through your first child that got an arm from Limitless.
Yeah. So the first child that we worked with, his name was Alex. He was 6 years old at the time. And he was born without his right arm from the elbow all the way down.
Okay.
And his parents contacted one of our co-founders, Albert, at the time, for some sort of help because we were a part of another organization called Enable.
Enable.
And they found us through their matching program. And Albert gathered a group of us together to try and fulfill this mission.
Okay, and you guys are all college students at this time, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So after that, we started brainstorming on how we're going to solve this problem. We didn't know we were going to be using electromyography or anything like that. We really had no basis.
Okay, you just had a child that was missing a limb from the elbow down.
And we needed to do something.
Right.
And at the time, we were still all in school, and it was actually very close to finals. So we were all studying.
All stressed out and not sleeping.
And to add to that, we had an 8-week deadline with which to finish this arm.
Okay.
So it was a very big crunch. And the deadline was because Albert was going to go out of town.
Okay.
He was going on a Fulbright scholarship to Germany.
Okay.
And so we were on a very strict deadline, and we had to get this done before then.
Right.
So eventually, some of our team members suggested electromyography because we found a sensor online that would allow us to do it.
Okay.
So we ordered it. It was about $50, I think. So very affordable cost point for us at this point.
Right.
Because we're all college students. We still have to be able to afford pizza for ourselves.
You can't give up the pizza.
Exactly.
Right.
So we would spend late nights after we would go to class, come home, do our homework, and then we'd work till like 1 in the morning or so working on this arm. And eventually we got to the end game and we delivered Alex's arm to him. And his is operated on his bicep. So
okay, so tell us about that. So you put it on, walk us through what would happen.
Yeah, so we would put on 3 electrodes on his bicep, and then Alex can then flex his bicep.
So as he flexes his bicep,
so that will send an electrical signal down through your arm from your brain, and we can sense that change in voltage.
Oh.
And so whenever he flexes, that's what's happening in his arm, and we
Right.
can sense that, and then we use that as a toggle mechanism to close or then open the hand.
Close or open the hand. Wow. So now what was this first arm look like?
So this first arm was all vanilla colored.
Okay.
It was very plain. It was sort of boxy, rectangular. We wanted to try and make it look as normal as we possibly could in our short deadline.
Right.
And it was the only model that we ever made, so we didn't have any like history to base it off of. It was all from scratch.
And in Lean Startup, we called this, like, this was your fast, rough prototype,
Pretty
right?
much.
That it was functional. It was actually working.
Yep,
it
yep.
opened and closed his hand.
Absolutely. So this model was very, very basic in the way it looked. We wanted Alex to be able to blend in as much as possible with his arm.
Okay.
But just a really funny story to go alongside of that. Plastic on plastic, so our fingers are plastic, and plastic on other materials doesn't really grip very well.
Not our fingers are plastic, but on the arm, the fingers are plastic.
Correct.
Okay. So Alex's new fingers on his hand that he had now because of the Limitless arm, these were plastic.
Correct. And that doesn't grip very well in anything. So we added those little rubber money counting finger grips on all his fingers to give him a little more gripping power.
Right.
But they only came in multicolored packs, and we wanted all clear ones. So we had to buy maybe 3 or 4 boxes of these things to get 5 clear ones. And after we delivered Alex's first arm, at the time we didn't have an intention of starting a nonprofit to continue pursuing this. So we didn't want all these extra finger grips. So we're like, you guys could take all these.
I love it. So this was one problem you came together and solved. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a vision of we're going to start something.
Correct, yeah. So we gave them all of the leftover finger grips, and we come back maybe a week, 2 weeks later to check on Alex, see how he's doing, and he's got like red finger grip, blue, orange, green, purple. He
has customized, he's accessorized his hand.
Exactly. He's thrown out the clear ones and replaced them all with like colors. And that's when we started realizing that maybe Alex doesn't really want to, quote, fit in as we originally thought. So we started brainstorming on how else we can further this innovation, you could call it.
How you could take the innovation to customization.
Correct.
For a child.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about the challenge. Prior to the Limitless prosthetic hand arm, what did that cost normally for a family, or what would have it cost without your solution?
Mm-hmm. So prosthetic arms that are based on the same EMG principle that ours was can run upwards of about $40,000 to even $100,000.
$40,000 to $100,000.
Depending on where you get it, yeah.
And the challenge with that in a child is what?
So the reason why it's so much more difficult with a child is insurance companies typically will not cover prosthetics for kids because of how quickly the child's going to outgrow it, and then they just have to dish out another $40,000.
Right, because the arm has to keep growing with the child.
Right, because the child's going to grow really quick.
What does a Limitless arm cost?
So at the time, our Limitless arm costed $350 in materials costs.
Wow. $40,350.
Correct.
Talk about instantly access.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And tell us now what's happened. Tell us about a child now, where the arm has evolved. I mean, most of us by now have seen, you've had some pretty amazing videos. Like, how many views did the video?
The Iron Man video?
Yeah, the Iron Man video get.
Millions.
Millions. So people have probably seen.
Yes.
What, Robert
Downey Jr.?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And who was that? Was that Alex?
That was Alex, correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Getting his
Iron Man arm. Right.
So talk to us about the journey from the beige arm with the clear stickies to these new arms.
Right. So after we realized that Alex and the other children don't really want to, quote, fit in, they more want to express themselves through their arm. Sort of like, I'm expressing myself through these awesome blue pants.
Yes, you are. You're rocking them.
Like a rock star, right?
That's right, you're here.
So it's just like we wear clothes, they want to express themselves through their arm. So we started just trying to figure out what do the children like. Before we'd make the arm, we'd figure out what do they like, what's their favorite color, that type of stuff. So the next child we worked with, her name was Madeline, and she really liked the movie Tangled, the Disney movie.
Tangled.
So we themed her arm after the Disney movie Tangled, and she loved it.
Okay, so what did it look like?
So it was sort of purple with some like gold outlines through it. It looked awesome.
Incredible.
So then after we worked on that, we went back to Alex and we designed him a Transformers arm.
A Transformers arm.
Because that was his absolutely favorite thing in the world is Transformers. Okay. And trust me, he has every Transformers action figure ever made because we've seen them all.
And the arm to go with it.
And the arm.
Wow. Talk to me a little bit about Albert and your team's, like, your why. What, like, because you didn't start this as a company. You started to solve problem. But now what? Now what has it grown into, and what's your why?
That's a great question. And I think that's really the biggest question for every company that wants to do something good is why? Why are you doing this?
Yeah, why?
So for us, it was like you said, it wasn't about starting a company or anything like that. We just wanted to help one child, and after that, hey, it's a success so far. So really, we've been blessed to have an education and to be given so many skills and talents that we can use in engineering and art, and just everything that came together to make this project a success was something that we've been blessed with. And we wanted to be able to use that to then do something good to change lives, or at least maybe one life at the time. So it wasn't really anything about, hey, let's go make a multi-million-dollar company in a week or something like that. But it was just all about, we want to change the world. And we were given skills, so let's use these to do it.
It's amazing because sometimes, like, how old is the average team member on the Limitless team?
Everybody is within, well, the majority of people is an undergrad.
Right, so 20-ish.
Yeah, so like early 20s.
Right, and so a lot of times we come to the things thinking we're not old enough, or we can't solve this, or we don't have enough money, right? That wasn't your guys' issue.
Yeah, no. Typically the world tells you, you go to college, you get your degree, and then you're ready to do something good for the world. But no, even in the midst of getting your degree, even before the degree, if you have enough motivation and willpower to go and do it and figure out how to do it, you can change the world no matter how old you are.
I love it. So how are you guys changing the world? Since what? That was over a year ago, and now, when you look out, talk to me about some specific ways Limitless stepping up with that first arm has changed the world.
So now, ever since we've created our first EMG arm, we've seen a lot more people around the world starting to tinker with EMG-based 3D printed arms as well. So we've got other people around the world sort of doing the same thing we're doing and innovating on top of it. And that's a huge thing when it comes to spreading an idea around the world. But we're also trying to reach out to other people and children and nonprofits in the world and try to work alongside them to try and further our own benefit to the world.
So you're collaborating with other people on technology and other nonprofits. So how many children now have gotten arms from Limitless?
So far, I think we're maybe around, I don't remember the exact number, but it's somewhere around 10 or 11.
Okay.
So it's not like astronomical or anything like that, but we've had an astronomical impact in their lives.
Yeah, life-changing, right?
Yeah.
And then inspiring, this idea that we could inspire innovation all over the world because of what you're doing here.
Correct.
You're right now doing a project called something about 12 Days of Christmas?
12 Arms for Christmas.
12 Arms for Christmas.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So we chose the next 12 people on our waiting list for getting arms, and we decided, all right, we're going to give each one of these children an arm for Christmas. And so our original plan was to do it sort of the 12 Days of Christmas, release a video every single day.
Yeah.
And we always run into problems, dilemmas, but the idea is still there. We're delivering 12 arms to 12 different children for Christmas. And so that's been going on ever since the beginning of December now.
Okay. How many have you delivered so far?
I think we've delivered 2 or 3 so far.
2 or 3? Okay. Talk to us a little bit about your team. How does this get done? You're a nonprofit. Give us a little bit of the model of how is this stuff getting done, and what do you need to impact more kids?
So we're a nonprofit, so we don't have endless supplies of money or anything like that.
Right.
So we work on a very strictly volunteer basis. And so whenever you do something that's world changing, you'll find that so many people come around you they want to help.
Yeah.
And so we have so many students at UCF that just want to help us out. And so we form teams of people.
Okay.
And we assign them a child, and then their job is to design and meet the need of that child.
Okay, so teams are coming together with the child at the center and creating a unique product based on the technology breakthroughs you've had.
Correct.
With the EMG and the 3D printed.
Absolutely, yep. And so we've had 12 teams going on for this, and we've had an overflow of people wanting to join those teams. And so these teams...
How many people is that? 12 teams of how many people are on a team?
Well, typically a team is maybe 4 to 5, but since we've had so many people wanting to join in on this project, they're like 7 or 8 now, each team. So they've just been getting bigger. But we don't ever want to stop people from helping out. I mean, if they want to come help, we're open to that. That's awesome.
So what are the biggest challenges you guys are facing at Limitless?
That's a great question. I think one of the biggest problems, or not really a problem, but a challenge, honestly, is having so many hands that want to help.
so many volunteers.
Yeah.
Like, how do you manage all the
Yeah.
people that want to be involved?
But like that's a different kind of challenge. That's a good challenge to have because
Right.
you have so many people wanting to be so generous with their time, and that's incredible. And we want to do that. Sometimes we just don't have enough work for them to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes our space is too small for all those people to work. But it's a really good problem to have, right?
Right.
It's better than being short of hands.
So how do you, what's the donation side of this look like?
So we're sustained solely through donations. So we have people that go out, give presentations, raise money through that. And then we have a lot of people who just really just want to donate $20, $25. A lot of people donate upwards of $300, $350. So we're sustained solely through donations. We don't really sell anything at all. But we've been very surprised by the generosity of the world.
Yeah. So what is the cost now for an arm?
The cost originally was $350
Right.
for materials costs. And
That's just material, no labor cost on that number.
correct. But with volunteers, we don't really have a labor cost either.
Right.
So that's one of the things that help us keep it low. But so it's $350 in materials cost for the original arm, but now we're down closer to around $200 in materials.
Okay, so the materials are down to 200, and there's still, how many hours of work is one arm?
That's a great question too. Sometimes it really varies based on the team, but we average maybe around 40 to 50 hours of work on an arm.
Okay.
Of course, spread out over time because
Right.
we have school.
Yeah. When you look at this for yourself, like what have been the hardest part of this journey for you?
For me personally, I think one of the hardest parts was actually like starting the company. Because we co-founded the company with four of us, myself, Albert, Dominique, and John Sparkman are also on the team.
Okay, so 4 people co-founded the team.
Correct. And then one of the hardest problems was really figuring out how to run a company because we're all engineers. We don't know anything about
very nicely with a smile by the engineer.
we don't know anything about running a
And
business.
it was the first time any of you had started something,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. But it was a very unique and honestly really good experience. It was very stressful,
Yeah.
but it was really good because I learned a lot about finance management, about documenting things, about for some reason we have to document our meeting minutes legally, so I learned about that.
Right.
But there was just so much like stuff that I didn't know. And so my catchphrase throughout the semester was, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And honestly, that was the truth.
But you know, and that's probably kind of absolutely contrary to your engineering training, right?
Yeah. Like in engineering, you usually know what you're doing, or at least have a vague idea, and you can Google how to do it or something like that. But in like business starting, it's very unique to your business about how you do things. And most of the time, I had no clue what I was doing. But there's so many people, yourself included, that were there who had knowledge and were able to help me. And were so willing to lend their time. So thank you very much for that. We couldn't have done it without you, Pam.
Oh wow! Well, I think that there's a community, right? Like,
yes.
It takes a whole community. When so talk to me a little bit about the vision and the mission of Limitless and the stress over time on that.
So the vision originally was to be able to provide one arm to one child, because it was just a project, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't a company. But then
A beginning and an end.
exactly. After we saw the impact on Alex's life that this had, we realized, well, hey, there's a lot of potential here to impact many more lives. And if we fail, oh well, it doesn't matter. We succeeded already, and now we're just going to try and succeed more. And if we fail, it doesn't really matter. But we're succeeding so far. And the vision then shifted into, let's try and help as many people as possible, and inspire innovation.
Get arms as possible.
And then inspire innovation around the world to sort of bring this market to a higher light. And we've been successful at that too. And there's been a lot of people trying to sway us away from the nonprofit model.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Because I could imagine that people would go, wow, how big is the market? How many people, how much money could we make? Right? Like, so what has that conversation been like?
Yeah. So many people just talk all about money, and it's all about money. And a lot of them do have good intentions. One of the most common comments I get is, well, you got to be able to pay your people, and you got to be able to feed yourself. And it's like, yeah, that's right. But at the same time, we have this this very clear vision, and we're sticking to it. We want to be able to provide these arms for free to the families that need them.
So the arm is free to the family, and that has driven this volunteer approach.
Exactly.
And putting the cost down.
Yeah, one thing I've realized is that that if you have a vision and you stay true to it and you believe wholeheartedly in your vision, there's gonna be a way to accomplish that vision.
Wow.
It might be very hidden. You might have to search for it, but it's gonna be possible. You just gotta try.
So what has the conversations been with the founders? How has the team changed? And what have you learned about growing something?
We've learned that it's a very big team approach. So there's no way that I myself would have been able to grow Limitless to where it is today, or Albert would have been able to do it by himself. It's been a very team approach, and engineers, typically whenever you're in college and you're starting out in your engineering career, you're like, I can do this. I can do everything by myself. It's a very arrogant approach, but you learn as you start getting into more career-driven things, or even starting a company like this, that you're not going to be able to do it by yourself.
Wow,
you need people.
We move from independence, right, and kind of this ego thing to interdependence and this humility of understanding that, man, the research is really conclusive. Teams are much more effective than solopreneurs.
Absolutely.
Look at it in all kinds of impact. We could say change, innovation, financial success, employees, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The word entrepreneur, I'm just going to make a little vague connection here, but the word entrepreneur, if you just change the first letter to A, it becomes entrepreneur. And ants are some of the most team-driven people, things
oh my gosh,
in the
I
world.
got a whole new metaphor, right? Entrepreneur. And then we'd all be working together.
For one common goal, right?
Yeah.
And that's what entrepreneurs should be all about, is you have this idea, now let's get a team to do it.
Yeah. When you look back, is this the first thing you've started, idea that you've taken that has impacted other people?
Me personally, yes. The idea originally came from Albert.
Right.
But myself, this is the first entrepreneur venture that I've ever been involved in.
If you were giving us 3 lessons from your little experience here, and you were going to try to help someone else out, what are the 3 biggest lessons you've had in starting, co-founding Limitless and getting it to where it is now?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things that I've come to realize is, and I know this sounds really cliche because everybody always says this, but it's the truth, is don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
At the beginning, my catchphrase was, I have no clue what I'm doing, and every time I didn't know what I was doing, I was failing.
Really? I guess it's how we define failure. Is failing not knowing, or is failing not trying?
There you go. I think that's one of the big differences that we have, is people don't end up trying.
Yeah.
And by definition, that's a failure.
We don't grow up being challenged to take risks, right? I think it's about, we're really socialized, and as an educator, I know it's true. We're training people to get the right answers instead of training people to be curious and to be discoverers. Yeah. And to go out and try to find problems or things they're interested in solving, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. There's so many people that don't try, and people have so many good ideas. I've talked to people on the university campus, and they tell me an idea they have, and then I'm like, well, go do it. That sounds awesome. Go try that. And they're like, nah, I would never be able to succeed at that. It's like, well, you just have already defeated yourself before you've even tried.
Yeah, mindset. So don't worry about failure, just start.
Right.
What's your next lesson?
So I think the next thing that I would pass on to people, I'm trying to decide between 2 of them right now.
Well, you can tell us both.
Okay. I think another thing would be, don't be afraid to give a dumb idea. So, for example, this is an example that I always give, but one of our biggest challenges in Limitless was figuring out how to attach a plastic arm onto a child where it doesn't hurt, it still works, it doesn't fall off. How do you attach this thing onto somebody?
Yeah, I'm wondering, how does it attach?
Yeah, so originally our idea was really complicated. We made a cup for the arm, and we would set his arm down into it, and then we'd strap it down, and then we'd brace it with a chest brace across the across the chest. Because I mean, I don't know.
It was the start.
Exactly. But then we started figuring out, okay, we need a better way to do this. So we came up with other ideas. One of the ideas that was thrown around was, why not we try sort of a Chinese finger trap type thing, where you put it on, and the more it pulls, the tighter it gets.
Oh, okay.
And we haven't actually tried it, but hey, that might be a viable solution. And honestly, it sounds really stupid.
Right.
But that could, honestly, if you think about it, it could be a really good solution.
So you started with one thing. How is the arm attaching now?
So now the arm is attaching where we use sort of like a neoprene type material, sort of like a stretchy thing, and we sort of sew it into the arm, and then we can bring it up over the residual limb.
Okay. Okay, so don't be afraid to start with something.
Yeah, you gotta start
sounds
somewhere.
Dumb.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna pivot, iterate, get feedback from whoever's using it.
Absolutely.
And keep making it better. What's your next lesson?
So I think the absolute biggest thing that I've learned, so in the beginning of this venture, I was doubtful in the world. I was doubtful that the world had the generosity to sustain a not-for-profit organization.
Okay, you were skeptical about how the world would look at this, or if you'd get supported.
Yeah. I was very skeptical in whether people would be willing to donate their money and their time to what we're doing. Okay. But one thing I've learned is that the most important thing is to keep in mind that, what's your vision? What's the goal? Are you trying to make money, or are you trying to change lives? Yeah. And so I think the more that you use your skills, your talents, your knowledge for the goal of loving other people around you, and whatever that means for your company, just loving the people around you and helping them, I think the world, you'll begin to see that the world will begin to evolve around you.
Okay, that's radical. Like, so I'm sitting here with an engineering student that's saying, really, my biggest lesson is if you show up to love, and that's some kind of service or product or good, right? That the world is going to respond.
Yeah.
Because we want love.
Yeah, absolutely. And it helps so much to just give it. And that's what our project was all about, is just loving Alex.
Loving Alex, and loving Madeline,
yeah,
loving each child in their unique way.
Absolutely, and that's what it's all about. And so that's the message that we carry out into the world. Now, I do want to clarify and say, notice that I didn't say revolve. The world's not going to start revolving around your company. It's not going to become all about you, but people will begin to respond. Like you said, it's going to evolve.
Right.
So people will come around you and help you out. They'll donate their money, donate their time to your cause. And I think you'll see a big impact.
Yeah, because at the core, we're hungry for what as human beings?
I think at the core, we're hungry for acceptance. We're hungry for love.
Purpose.
Yeah, purpose.
Meaning, right? And that's what I think See Limitless has attracted so many people that want to be involved in something meaningful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So what inspires you?
What inspires me? I think the biggest thing so do you mean it inspires me to keep going in Limitless? I think the biggest thing that inspires me right now is seeing these children who have come from a place of being bullied and teased. Now, I should not make it sound awful, because they're not getting beaten up or anything like that, which is awesome.
Right.
But they're getting bullied, teased, they're quote different from other people.
Right.
And so that has a really big effect on your sort of inner personality and how you perceive the world.
Right.
But being able to see how strong these children are, even in the midst of that, but then once you provide them with the arm, how much even stronger they get.
Yeah.
It's really inspiring to see their reaction to the world.
Yeah, the impact you've made in the children's lives. Wow. So when you, what is your purpose? When you think about your purpose now, how would you define that?
Oh, that's such a difficult question. I think in a very general and very broad sense, I think my purpose is to love.
Your purpose is to love.
Whatever that means, love people around me, love the world in providing solutions for some problem that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Whether that's donating $20 to my neighbor who needs to fix his lawnmower or something like that.
So love is a verb.
Yeah.
Love is showing up, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So success. What's your definition of success?
I think the definition of success, there's so many ways you could define success.
For you.
What
has to happen for you, Tyler, to be successful?
For me to be successful, I think that I have to have a goal in mind and then go after that goal. I don't necessarily have to accomplish it though to be successful. And I think that's a difference between me and the rest of the world, is I can fail at something, but it would still be a success because I've learned a lot more about how this works, whatever this is. I've learned a lot more.
So you've reframed it. Success for you is having the courage to go after and do that thing.
Absolutely.
And kind of separated the outcome. You're successful by stepping out and going after it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sort of like the mentality that we have with starting Limitless. We already did something great for Alex. We've succeeded. Now let's go start this company. If the company falls apart, it doesn't matter. We've already succeeded. We've already accomplished something. We've learned so much. And if the company were to fall apart tomorrow, God forbid, but if it were to fall apart tomorrow, we've had so much success.
Yeah.
And I would not call that a failure, not ever.
Right, impact. What do you think is keeping more people from starting things? Like they have it in their heart?
I think the biggest thing that keeps people from starting things is themselves.
Yeah. So what do we need to, what's your advice for that to us that are sitting on the fence?
Yeah, that's such a difficult question to answer. It really is, because there's it's various for different people. I think what would motivate me is very different from what motivates you. Might be. It could be the same though. But I think one of the biggest things that I've realized is in my own life, my biggest enemy is me.
Yeah.
And
we're standing in our way.
Yeah, it's me standing in my own way. And I've just come to this I guess, commitment to my biggest enemy is me, but even I'm not going to stop me. I'm not going to let me stop me.
Even me, I am not going to stop myself, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So whatever's going on in here, I'm not going to let it get in front of me taking that next step.
Absolutely, yeah. There's so many things that can get in the way, whether it's your emotions, whether it's fear of pursuing something. Just like realize that this is fear, and fear is just like, I don't know, it's irrational.
It is irrational, right?
And so shove that out of the way, keep focused on the vision, and just do something.
Wow, how'd you get so wise for so early in your life journey, huh?
By hanging out with people like you.
No, I don't think that was it. I think it was something else.
Oh.
So what's next for you?
Next for me, oh man. I don't know how long I'm going to stay with Limitless.
Okay.
I definitely want to stay with Limitless as long as I can, doing what I do. Right now, I'm an outreach specialist. I go share the message of what we do, and I absolutely love every minute of it.
Yeah, so what else are you curious about right now?
So I have other dreams, my own goals that I want to do. One of my goals is to one day get a job at Google.
All right, you heard us, Google. He's coming your way. I know it.
So that's one of my goals, and I'm going to do everything I can to pursue that.
Okay.
But I have other maybe possible dreams, maybe starting another company maybe one day.
Yeah.
If I
wouldn't be
come up with an
surprised by
idea.
that, right?
Yeah.
If you can find another way to love the world.
Exactly,
in a great way.
Yeah.
Right? Tyler, Limitless is so inspiring, but more inspiring is the people that have stepped out, your team, you, and are just like being the change we want to see in the world.
I really
right?
appreciate that.
So Limitless, we can find you at limitless.org.
So it's Limitless with a B.
With a B.
-solutions.org.
-solutions.org. So that's where we find you. That's where we can donate. That's where we can help children.
Absolutely.
And we'll be following you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate all you guys are doing.
Thank you so much.